Yo, what's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive, in my understanding anyway, of steroids causing hair loss. And it all sparked from a really good conversation I had with this guy on, it was a Facebook short post, and I made a comment, and he commented back. And we had like it was kind of a debate, but not really. We ended up coming to a mutual understanding, but in the process, which is a good thing about debate, more came out, like something came out of it that we both agreed on, first of all, and then we both kind of learned from and shared our own experience. So the main factor when it comes to hair loss, especially with steroids, is genetic predisposition, correct? Because it's if you're genetically predisposed to hair loss, it's going to affect you a lot more. It's just as simple as that. And sometimes, you know, people jump on gear in their 30s, and that's when you get hair loss anyway. So it goes kind of hand in hand, right? Or 40s. So it might just speed up the process a little bit. So I wanted to get that out of the way first. But I'm going to get in more of the deep dive here, which is generally when people talk about steroids and hair loss, they talk about the DHT, correct? The DHT, which affects the male, that's a male androgen, that affects the follicle site, which causes hair loss. That's why things like masteron, which is a DHT derivative, are generally associated with hair loss. Like, a lot of people say don't do masteron, it causes hair loss, or be careful with it, right? And I think that's true to an extent, although I don't think it's as simple as that. So I'm going to get talking right into my ideas about this, which is what I said in the post, which is if you don't want hair loss, don't run high amounts of testosterone. Because what is testosterone converted to? DHT. And that's going to be the main thing. And but I'm going to also say that I think androgens in general, if something has an androgen load in general, it could at least contribute to hair loss. So there's that. And sometimes when we take so much of something, our body kind of goes, I'm not saying a shock, but it gets stressed out. And that stress, because taking a large amount of steroids causes increase in stress on the body. And a symptom of stress on the body can be hair loss in itself. And that's something I really don't hear many people talk about. So if all of a sudden you go on a massive amount of gear that your body is not used to, and maybe for a long period of time, and harsh compounds, then all of a sudden your body kind of goes in a state of, I don't want to say shock, because that's it's a bit of different connotation in medical language, but I'm going to say it gets overly stressed out. And as a result, the hair loss could happen. That's why sometimes people go through a rough period of their lives and they get hair loss. It triggers it. So that's the other factor here. And I'm going to say the third factor, which I've heard people kind of address here and there, which is, sure, you might have elevated DHT, but if you also have slightly elevated estrogen, granted, it's not like your fertile woman level estrogen, women in their fertile window type shit, then you can have that estrogen actually works as a protective factor, I believe, on the follicle itself, as well as having a whole bunch of other protective factors in the body, such as with bones, etc. And also should note that estrogen is needed in the conversion of HGH to IGF factor 1. So I think the biggest mistake a lot of guys, bodybuilders, guys taking steroids have is they jump on a lot of gear and they do super physiological doses, obviously, of testosterone, potentially 500 milligrams up, which is a considerable amount of DHT conversion. I believe, don't quote me, it's 5 or 10% of serum testosterone gets converted to DHT. I believe it is that, actually, around that. So, you know, you're going to have elevated DHT, and then at the same time, they might take something like a Arimidex or EQ or something to manage their testosterone, and a lot of the paradigm in bodybuilding was to kind of keep your estrogen on the lower side anyway. But a lot of guys don't even do proper blood work and things, so maybe their estrogen is way too low. So it's a combination of low estrogen and high DHT, which is just a poor recipe for hair loss, because estrogen is not there to protect the hair follicles. So I believe I think that's the kind of the two things. Like, I think you could have slightly elevated DHT and be fine, but again, it's just about how much you're doing, the volume of compounds you're doing, and but also what compounds you're doing. Like, potentially if you do high amounts of masteron, it potentially could contribute to it. But I believe it's the testosterone that's going to be the main thing for a lot of guys who are running like 500 plus. So they have really high elevated levels of DHT because of that conversion. And then, like I mentioned, on top of that, they're kind of crushing their estrogen at the same time. So that's what I think is the problem most guys run into. And it's the one thing I really don't hear people talk about too much, or if not at all. So what do you guys think about that? Again, this is something that I was talking to a guy about on masteron in general, and I guess I should talk about masteron a little bit, since that's the one that's generally associated with hair loss. It isn't truly DHT. It's a DHT derivative, but I believe it is true that's it. But I should also mention that because it's a DHT derivative, it has different half-lives than actual DHT, and it affects the body more systemically, I'll say, the DHT derivative, that is masteron, than actual DHT, which might affect target-specific body parts, such as hair follicles, more, right? Although it would be systemic as well because it's in the blood, but I believe taking masteron is more systemic, the DHT-derived one, but that's just my assumption. Maybe you guys want to correct me on that one as well. So I believe there is that, but I also believe that because personally I've taken masteron for 3 years and I'm 42 years old, and when I look at my hairline, like, there might be it might be going back, but I believe that's just naturally because of my age. I've not seen any significant amounts, if you know what I'm saying, of hair loss. So I'm going to say that for me, it hasn't. Maybe I'm one of the lucky ones, or maybe I just have good genetics of where hair loss. But to be honest, at this point, if it happens, it happens. Like, I would accept it at my age. It wouldn't be ideal, but it'd be like, well, whatever, I'll shave my head or something, or just kind of live with it. Like, it is what it is. I have a wife, so it's not like I'm trying to impress anybody or anything, although for my profession and things it might be a little better, but or I could just go to Turkey and get a hair transplant too. That's always an option. So it seems to be the place where people go nowadays. But as far as things go, I'll just mention that I think my whole thesis here is that if you don't want to lose hair, don't run high amounts of testosterone or gear in general, but definitely testosterone is going to be, DHT is just downstream from testosterone, just like estrogen is. So, you want to manage estrogen. Well, if you want to manage your DHT, I don't know if there's any, quote, DHT blockers. There might be. I don't know. I've never heard of that. But, the answer to it is just don't run as much. Okay? So, I'll leave it there, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video on steroid use and hair loss. Thanks for watching. Peace.